What's going on, Cancer? I salute the divinity in you, and welcome to the Chariot Friends. Justin here, and I hope you're feeling passionate today. Got that moon in Scorpio coming up here, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But if this is your first time here, know that if you come across this video, you're in sync with the moon, and she loves that. But this is also a channel where I talk about if you have Cancer in your placement, Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus, Saturn, Mars, wherever Cancer, this one's for you. Or if you just happen to sync up with the moon, we all can really benefit from working with our moon placement. This is for you too. And I do tarot card spreads based on our lovely ruler here, the good old moon. And I'll talk about what sign she's in, what phase she's in, and when she's going void of course, just all those lunar shenanigans. And just so you're all aware, this is a general reading, not a one-to-one. So take what fits into your story, discard the rest, and everything will be dope, Cancer. Now, let's jump into it. Actually, I'm gonna do things just like a hair different here. For some reason, I've been the intros today have been a bit of a struggle here, but we're committing for this one. But I'm gonna switch it up a little bit. Like normally during these, because we have the first quarter moon that's gonna be happening today. Well, not today; it'll be happening on Monday. But while the moon's in Scorpio, so I'd like to talk about the chart on this. But first, I'd like to talk about just like the moon being in Scorpio, and if you have your moon in Scorpio and things like that. I'm just kind of playing around with the format a little bit. But before we jump into that, depending on when you're coming across this thing, happy Saturn Day. Saturn is associated with Saturday. And normally this is like, you think this is the day to, get down. It's the weekend, like, woo, we gonna party. And Saturn's like, woo, no, we got work to do. This is the day, thanks to myself, this is the day to see where you've been ignoring things all week. And maybe not not purposefully, maybe you've just had like a busy week. And now this is maybe you got some things to attend to the house. Maybe the dishes are stacked to the ceiling. Maybe you got laundry that you need to do. Maybe the gutters have been calling your name. Maybe you've been needing to empty the shed. Whatever kind of thing that requires you to endure, that requires you to needing to kind of do any sort of like drudgery, sort of like the things that you've been kind of putting off. Saturdays can give you that stamina to get through it, to get through that, and then when you get through it, the nice thing about Saturn, even though he is considered the greater malefic, is that once you get through the task, he gives you great rewards. He helps you set up a very solid foundation. This could be, again, a great day to tend to the land and whatever that Saturn is. He was associated with the god of agriculture, so that's another thing too, maybe tending to some gardening, seeing how your resources are doing in general. But I feel specifically with Saturn being, having been in Pisces since last year of March, I feel like maybe a great practice to do with Saturn days is take a little bit of quiet and getting in touch with that kind of that inner God self, that divine self, that infinite spirit or angels, however you connect with that energy that's bigger than you. You know what I mean? Because when we're thinking about Pisces, excuse me. Pisces is that mutable water energy. And so when you're finding yourself kind of bouncing from here to here, not sure where things are at, kind of in that cosmic ocean, where do you find that faith? So this could be doing some sort of like regular prayer, maybe doing some sort of meditation practices. You can maybe doing some sort of math. You could find God in numbers. So, whatever that looks like for you, but whatever helps you get in tune with that to kind of help you move through some emotions when you find yourself kind of in the turn, because we're about to be in a lot of mutable energy starting next week. It's going to be kind of a need to have something to help you ground in the turbulence. So just I feel like just something to think about. And you can do that during the day or even doing it during the hours. Saturn is associated, they all have different hours that they rule over as well. So that could be something, to get into like a regular routine with, to build a foundation on that, on faith. look at that. But now, depending on when you're watching this, the moon is going to be entering into Scorpio at about 3:33 p.m. And I look at that 3:33, and that's going to be Pacific time. And it's going to be a pretty, like a mildish kind of emotional. The feelings may be I'd say somewhere in the medium range, because again, I'm basing them off her aspects off of the traditional planets. So she'll be forming about 4 aspects, and I feel like when we're about 4, we're almost. I feel like 5, 6 is when like things are really busy, when the emotions are going to be kind of all over the place, and we're going to need to kind of learn to kind of ride the wave with this one. But this one is going to be kind of moderate, I feel, and it's actually kind of building up to that bit, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But with the moon in Scorpio, let me stay on track here. The moon in Scorpio can be a great time to observe where you have fixed emotions, where you get stuck in a certain emotion, because this is where the moon experiences her fall. She's exalted in the opposite sign, Taurus. She's celebrated there, but now here her energies are they're just not as strong here. They're not able to produce the same amount of power, because the moon is used to just kind of moving through things. Okay, we're a couple days here, we're a couple days here, we're a couple days here. But with Scorpio, we might be a couple days here, we might be a couple weeks here, we might be a couple minutes here. Like it can be a little erratic if we're not finding ways, if we're not pinpointing those areas where we get stuck, and if we stay in that stuckness. So what I find with Scorpio, because when you think about their ruler, Mars, this is the time to get things moving, because if you stay stuck, Mars is that kind of like survival instinct in a way. This is Mars was associated with war, action, so, and not to make this aggressive, Mars, stop that. But it's more so just okay, it's okay to be feeling what you're feeling, and that's valid, but it's just like when it gets to this place where we're not nurturing the body, when we're starting to neglect things. Scorpio, doing things to help move, dancing, I feel I feel can be a great way to work with Scorpio energy, because Scorpio is associated with like the sweat glands, the genitals, things that excrete. And so I feel dancing can maybe help move some emotions, possibly, or just that thing. Think about when you were a child with Scorpio, because in the Thema Mundi, the chart that they said the universe was started on, Scorpio's associated is located in the 5th house, which is the house of good fortune. When you think about that, that's the house that Venus celebrates in. So a lot of love that comes into that house too. That's why I'm like, it's always interesting when people talk about Scorpio sometimes for me, because I find Scorpios, they always just focus on the intensity. And Scorpio, the Scorpio sons that I know are some of the most loving people that I want a Scorpio by my side in life, for sure. So, but you can look to see, what were some things that you did when you were a child? How would you take an emotion and create from that? Where in your imagination would you go to help you move through that? Maybe you need to get out some action figures. Maybe you need to let an emotion take on this certain figure, and then you have these other figures that are helping you combat this emotion and get these things down, whatever that's looking like. Nothing's too silly. Have some fun. Move through this thing. Maybe you need to paint this thing out. Maybe you need to write this out. Again, maybe you need to do long equations on the board. Maybe you need to do some kind of science sort of things. Maybe you're woodworking. There's a number of ways. Work with your natural gifts with the 5th house. These are things that you were born with, that you were blessed with, and the things that, think about just things that make you, that, when we're, again, with Scorpio isn't just meant to get fixated on the negative things or the things that can just bring you down. Scorpio, you can fixate on love. You can fixate on happiness. You can fixate on joy, thinking about that, and then how can I usher in more of that? How can I create more of that? Who are the people that I'm interacting with to bring more of that in? There's a sexual energy with Scorpio, of course, with the 5th house being in there, that being about children, creation, and things. Being mindful about that, pouring your energies. It's one thing, maybe you want to, maybe you need a little romance, maybe a little fun, maybe you're feeling a little bit celebratory, you want to spread that around a little bit. That might be, and I just don't mean sexually, but I mean, maybe you just want to go out there and have fun with some friends, possibly, or just bring some joys. But I would be mindful about that. There is this thing that in Scorpio is more about intimacy, even with the 5th house, because there's nothing more intimate than a child being created. That's tying two people together, even if we're not married. That's a deep bond when we're creating something like that together. So I feel you want to be mindful with that power that Scorpio has too. Scorpios, there's a responsibility that comes with Scorpio too. So But those are just some things I feel like to think about. Just how can we, where do you, I like to think of that fixed water as like ice. When you're working with a difficult emotion, sometimes you can make an ice sculpture in a couple hours. Sometimes you might need a week or so, but it's finding different things to work with that. That's where I feel art there could be a great one. And you know what, if your moon is in Scorpio, that would be one thing that I would say too, because when you think about working with your moon placement, the moon is how you nourish your body, how you take care of this vessel, and how you create as well. And I feel with the moon in Scorpio, getting into those sort of practices can really help you along there. So, because when you think about the ruler of Mars to that energy, that can affect your health if your energy is low. If we're attracting those vibes that just kind of keep us down when we're feeling. Oh, especially with Scorpio, what you feel will manifest in your body, or that's what you will attract, and that's where I try to. I never want to be in this place where you feel like you're warning or you need to be, scared or anything. But it's just like, I find with fixed energy, you have to be a little extra mindful with that, because when you're locked in a certain type of way, it's hard to break that pattern. And it does require a lot of work. I have a lot of fixed energy in my chart. And it's luckily I have like a mutable moon. I feel like that's something that helps. That's a really use. My moon is well placed, so that helps, quite a bit. It helps me move my sun and moves all these other planets along. But that's where, finding these things, learning how to work with these different tools, work with your moon placement and things. That's something I would tell Scorpio Moon. Another thing with Scorpio Moon, intimacy. Shallow things they're not going to fulfill you like this is, if you had like a Gemini moon like myself, you can kind of have sort of light things. It's not that I don't have relationships with depth, but I can usually my energy's light. I can keep it here, but I feel like a Scorpio moon would want something a little more intimate, not where we're clinging, but where there is just like this mutual trust here, where we're creating this friendship, this bond, whatever we're doing here. And getting to this energy of play, I feel with the Scorpio moon, feeling like you can trust people to be in that play, and that they're not going to betray that love, that fortune that Scorpio does have. You know what I mean? I feel like sometimes, especially if something happens in childhood, that you can hold on very tightly to that. So, and if you need someone to help you work through that again, then find those relationships to help that form that intimate relationship. Maybe you're creating a healthy, because it can just create so much healthy things everywhere else in your life. So, but that's some things to think about with this Scorpio energy. It doesn't have to be all intense all the time. And I kind of like, when I've been thinking about this, like I've been doing some studying and things, and I like this how I've been kind of piecing things together here. It explains the sign a lot. It explains a lot of the stuff with the signs a lot more clearly for me. But all right, let's get into the chart here, because I know you're all excited. Like, Justin, get to the chart. Let's see the sky. So we have the first quarter moon that's going to be happening on the 12th of August, and that's going to be here's my handy drawer here. That's going to happen at 8, I had 8:18 here, 8:19, approximately. It's going to be happening at 8:19 on the 12th, and that's AM, and that'll be, again, Pacific time. And the first quarter phase is when, you plant that seed, we've had those ideas or things that, that we enter that new moon in Leo. It's like the energies are kind of percolating right now. We're getting the downloads. Certain things are coming in. It's like the frequencies start just trickling in, is what I would picture this. And now when we get to the first quarter here, now we're starting to feel a little bit of like we're wanting to act upon these things. This is of this because let me show you where everyone is. I'm getting ahead of myself. So the first quarter is when the sun, lovely sun there, and then the moon here forms a square with one another, 90-degree angle there. And squares are under Martian energy, Mars. And so they're energizing you. They're crisis in action is how sometimes you could think about a square, especially with this would be an opening square, that's happening from from the sun. So now there's this energy of excitement, hopefully, but there's something that's wanting to stir up here, that you're ready to get started. Maybe this is that maybe you've been wanting to improve your health. Maybe you're getting ready. Okay, this is you taking that first lap around the block. Or this could be you, okay, I'm starting I'm starting to pack up my own lunches, maybe, or prepping my meals during the week so that I can have kind of more home cooked meals, things, and something along those lines. Whatever it is that your intention is setting, this is where the ideas are starting to come in. This is where, again, and keep writing this stuff down. I like to take this lunar cycle, during this month and the next couple of months to let the ideas really kind of seep in and sink in, like, okay, what do I want to add here? I may need to modify this here. Keep checking back with your intentions. How do you resonate with them? It's like, maybe I was feeling a little ambitious here. Maybe I need to push this off to the next one, or, just kind of getting things prioritized. What things you feel are most relevant for you to take forward right now. So that's something to think about when we're getting into this square action here. Just kind of trusting or paying attention to whatever insights, whatever intuitive ideas, anything like along those lines that are coming up, and then now starting to incorporate that on a daily basis, kind of seeing what the results could be. And I feel this could be, again, because we got this incoming energy here while we're talking about Mars and Jupiter are coming up on this conjunction here soon. It's probably going to happen within, I want to say it happens on if not today, on the 12th, then probably on the 13th, I would imagine around that time. And so with that, there's something really big, I feel, with this Leo moon that you can start up. Not something big that's going to happen to you, but more so, if it's going to happen to you, is because that's what you've manifested, and I mean that in a positive way. Like, if you, whatever intention that you set here, I feel there's a lot of juice with this Mars and Jupiter forming a conjunction, because Mars energizes, Jupiter affirms and expands. But with Gemini happening here, Big Papa is in detriment in Gemini. So it's a little bit weaker. I feel like we want to make sure that we're considering both sides of things, of what we're starting up during this new moon, especially with this happening during having happened during a Mercury retro, the day of Mercury retrograde. Paying attention to the consequences of whatever actions that you're starting up. And I personally think too that this is not, because right after, both Mars and Jupiter are going to be forming a square with Saturn. Venus is going to be opposing Saturn. And what I also feel with this can be a great time to be looking at just, again, things that aren't working, looking at the consequences of your actions thus far, the things that have been supporting you energetically and the things that haven't been. Because what I think is going to be happening here with these squares is that we're going to start feeling our our decisions and things a little more potently. That's what I feel this kind of buildup is happening. And I'm working with the traditional plans, but I think when Saturn moves into Aries next year, because that's where Saturn experiences his fall, things are, it reminds, if I had to give an example, it's like when if you're like maybe like myself, and maybe you were out at the clubs, or maybe at the bar, and had a good old drinking time. It's different when you're in your 20s. You can go out and just go on a rager, and then wake up at like 5 a.m. and go to work all bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. You might need just maybe a snack, maybe something, a little water, and you're fine. But when you're 30, that story changes drastically. And that's what I feel like these energies are kind of leading to right now. It's just that, when you get to a certain level of awareness, the consequences mean more because you're aware now. Like, it was one thing when you didn't know that the thing you were doing was doing you harm. But now when you become conscious of it, it's just like, let's say you like, again, like maybe you've been, that's not a great example, but that would be the best example. The drinking example would be how I feel things are getting ready to move towards. But that doesn't have to be a negative. That can be a positive. It can, again, it can be something that you can start making more conscious decisions for yourself and start seeing more fruitful things too. Because we're sure Saturn and Mars, that energy could be destructive if we're not bringing any sort of awareness to the patterns that are bringing us down. But Saturn creates foundation, and Mars will give you the energy to do that in Gemini. This Mars can help push the idea of Jupiter a little bit, and I feel like it can help even to kind of bring about this faith. If you're sticking true to you, that things always work out in your favor. That's Saturn and Pisces energy too. But there's a lot of mutable energy that's in the air right now. You see we got all these planets. Venus and Mercury are still in Virgo here. All these mutable stuffs right now. So we're going to need to be a little flexible as these energies are building up. Now, one thing that I wanted to talk about as well with this is the Sabian symbol for where the moon is at, because I found this very fascinating. It's phase 231 of Scorpio, which is obeying his conscience. A soldier resists orders. And there's something very serious about that. When you think about a soldier, and I'm not just talking like with what's going on, I mean just in general, when you're committing yourself like to go to the military, I'm willing to, I have this loyalty in my country that I want to serve for this thing. But now something has resisted in me, a square that's making me want to resist orders. And now the keynote for this is a readiness to face the results of a refusal to follow the authoritarian patterns of aggressive society. And so I feel like this is a time to really pay attention to do the things that are for you. This is a time to really respect your energy. What sits right for you, and I mean from the messages that people are inspiring, it's like, do I value that, or is this something that someone is putting on me? Really paying attention to that energetic responsibility is something that I feel like, and not feeling like you have to adhere to a certain level of thing because maybe a society, maybe a friend group, parent group, whatever this is, relationship is forcing you otherwise. This mutable energy can create a potential split in things, I feel, if we let it, but it doesn't have to be. And I mean, sure, you can apply it to everything that's going down, but I mean, just really, there's so much going on. And I think that this could be where if we all make these active choices to hold more sovereignty, to not allow ourselves to be pulled to and fro, but to look at the things that matter to us right now, that we want to elevate. Maybe that's volunteering for you. That's how you're bringing to the world. What's your passion with this? Where do you want to fix your emotions onto the Scorpio energy that you want to give your whole being to? That just makes you powerful. And it empowers others too. But if we're doing things out of this sense of maybe obligation, or we feel whatever this could be, I feel that it could potentially backfire. I hope that makes sense. But that's what this Sabian symbol is giving me. I feel like there's a real, this obeying this consciousness, obeying what is right for you, what feels right for you. And stay, in whatever that means, I feel we're leading from a place, like I said, with Scorpio, we're leading from a place of love, then everything else will just fall into place. So just some things to think about. This is a mildly kind of, there's a lot of activity going on in this moon. The energies are built. We had a kind of a light period, but now we're going to be under a lot of lunar influence under these next couple of days. So pay attention to how you're nurturing your body. The other planets aren't doing a lot of talking, but there's impending conversations, as you see here. Mars and Jupiter to Saturn, Venus to Saturn. This Mercury's coming to the sun. Look to that sun, that solar energy, that take mind to that. But okay, let me adjust my screen here. And I think the last little bit here I want to talk about is the void, of course. And that's going to be happening same day, the 12th, right after we have the first quarter. The moon's going to go void of course from 8:18 or 8:19 till that day, until Mars Day, Tuesday the 13th, until 3 a.m. And so we're looking at about an 18-hour and 42-minute void of course. And now this is a time where the moon doesn't have any energy. This is a time where you're usually kind of wrapping things up. And this could be the time where if you've been thinking about something that you're wanting to start up, but you're not sure about this, sit with it. I like to say the void of course, it could be a great time to just sit with it, see how, and then when we start up into a new energy, when the moon moves into Sagittarius, then you can see are we still feeling that same fuel? Do we still feel that fire, or has something shifted in the meditation on that? But void of course time too is just a great time to just kind of recharge your batteries. If you've been around a lot of energies, maybe with the moon being a little more active during this Scorpio period, maybe people are having a bit more trouble regulating their energies, and there have been a lot of projections going around. You want to make sure to tend to that, doing some meditation, maybe some sound baths, an actual bath, whatever you can do, whatever you do to clear your energies, to help kind of sweat that energy out, to cleanse that thing, to keep that stuff kind of washed off there. So that's something ways to work with the void of course. But also, depending on the aspect, which is the aspect that she forms, the last aspect that she forms with the celestial body, that flavors the void of course time. So we're taking this first quarter energy over this next 18 hours and really kind of reflecting on and that's what I like to think of the void of course too. It's like where her time in Scorpio is starting to become a memory, and what are we reflecting on that? What do we get from that? How do we show up? Where do we really bring it? And where I'm like, man, that's still an area where I'm needing some work. What did we get? And where do we want to go from here? What I was saying is like, maybe you go out, maybe you went out on a Saturday day, and then you get to Sunday, and it's like, wow, yeah, you know what? I don't think this is going to be sustainable. I spent my bank account is pissed. My body's pissed. Just like I'm pissed because now the day's wasted. So, it's like looking at those things. It's like, is this really going to work? Is this thing really fueling me up, or is this depleting me? And then Scorpio, we're getting rid of that waste and bringing in more love. So. Whew, something to think about there. And if you're curious about how these energies are working in your chart, want to get an idea of maybe what your love, where you have Scorpio in your chart, how to work with those energies, book a reading with me. I have links down in the description box below to book a free consultation with me. Also, if you are wanting to, I have availabilities for my new group, the Lunar Mansion, and this is a group where we work with the moon cycle over a long period of time. We really give this a proper time to grow. There's a natural cycle that falls in the moon sign. We start with the new moon, and then in 9 months she'll be at the first quarter, and then in another 9 months we work in the full, and then the last we do in the last quarter. So the group, just to do a little brief overview, the group will be working over a 2.5-year span. You pay once, and if you have any other questions, I won't get super into that, but we work over a 2.5 year span. Once you pay in, you're in the group for life, and then you can pick whatever additional lunar cycles as they come on there. It's to create this sense of community. I'm going to have like different resources for you. I'm going to have certain courses that are going to be available for those people who have joined, and then any other courses that I make. I'm getting some things in order there too. I'm really channeling this Scorpio energy, kind of manifesting some things there, but if you have something you're curious again and you want more information on, you can either sign up for the group and we can meet up there, because I would definitely love to meet you before we get into the group as well. But also, yeah, there's a link down for that free consultation as well, with all the details down in the description box. So look forward to seeing you there. Hopefully we'll have a great old time there, just growing together, and there's power in that sense of community there too. So, but last little thing, these readings that I do, they're not gender specific readings, so apply these energies to people as they make sense from your situation. But look at this. For your general energy of the day, you have the pure white dragon from Orion. I like that. And this transforms your ascension knowledge into pure wisdom. Ooh, and then this card is about process what you know. Act with truth and honesty. Let your wings of light grow and expand. And that's where I feel with that Scorpio energy, channel your power. What do you feel your truth is? And really sit with that. This is something like just sit in that. I'm picturing you. I just pictured you sitting in this cave, this scorpion around you, and it's just like there's just these vibes that are going on. You're really tapping into that sense of source, that daily that prayer we were talking about with Saturn. But you know what? You know what you want. You know where you feel you're destined to, or like at least I feel like there's an idea. And I feel like that I feel like, yes, there are people there to help guide us, to kind of get us closer to the truth. But I can't tell you your truth. You tell me what it is, and then I can help you guide. I can give you the tools. But I say, for example, if we're working on a chart, where how to get there. But no one can tell you what your truth is. This is something where, like that first corner, obeying your conscience, your conscience. If something is telling you that this isn't right, then trust that inner knowledge. And the more that you do, that when you trust your intuition, how when you're like, oh, if you ever had that thing like, oh, I shouldn't do this, but I think I'm going to, and we'll just see what happens, and then you end up regretting it. It's like, man, I should have trusted my intuition. I should have did that. That's where I feel like this thing is. Like, this is learning from experience. We're not starting this. When we're talking about, people say like, oh, we're in a lot of new energies and things. That we're not really. It's the same old cycles. We go in cycles and cycles and cycles and cycles. And so this stuff. We've been handed down these energies here since childhood. And so now it's, I feel like this energy here is like it's working from experience rather than from scratch is what this is giving me here. But that's very interesting. Let me get some tarot on that and get some details with this. Thanks, Divine Self. Let's see what's going on here. Ooh, interesting. Ooh, there's Mars. Let's talk about this. So you have the Knight of Swords, the Devil, Capricorn, and then the Tower, Mars here. And then you have the Justice card upright. Or did I say in reverse? Yeah, those three in reverse and the Justice card upright. And that's very interesting with this Justice card here. You see this cat here? It's almost like its eyes are not even there. And I feel like this is seeing past the noise. There's the Justice card is Libra. And I'm feeling that there's a need to make sure where you're operating from, that's cardinal air, Libra, operating from your truth. What is balanced and just. This is something where you got to, we're really in a time of discernment, of learning to trust our intuition and our inner knowing. And if there's certain things that you don't know, this Knight of Swords, I feel being in reverse here, it's just being mindful of the resources that you're getting from, the ideas that you're taking things from, even from those closest to you. Take what they say into consideration. We don't want to be too, or it's not that we don't want to. I would say be aware of where we're maybe being a little fixed, a little, because again, any of the fixed signs have a propensity for stubbornness. But I feel like it's like keeping an open mind here with this Knight of Swords being here. Not allowing, just because for me that's Aquarius energy, that could be fixed air. So, but the Devil here, this is interesting. I like the Devil being in reverse because this is that maybe this Knight of Swords is this doubt of if we made the right decision. It's like maybe you see everyone else going, everyone else like screaming right, and then you're going left, and then I'm not quite sure what that is. It's like, it's almost giving me this feeling of, it's like this devil here is like saying there's only one way to do this thing. It's like either my way, everything else is a trap. You're safe here, even though when you come into my mouth, I'm going to eat you. It's like it's about. I feel like there's something here. It's like no, there's something else to that. There's another action that can be taken here with the tower being in reverse. You know, Mars deals with enemies. You know, this could be where you might kind of be at and I'm of course I'm being aware of what I'm saying, but it's just like yeah, let me be mindful with that. But we're in this. There's this battle here that's going on. Maybe this internal struggle that's happening here, and we're trying to figure out what's going to be the outcome. And I feel that the Justice card is not worrying about necessarily maybe where a decision is right, whether something is right or wrong. It's just understanding the consequences that come with it, and how you operate from that will depend on that, but yeah, there's something uncertain here with this Knight of Swords. Let me get a little bit more. I'm going to get some on this Knight of Swords and the Devil. Let me get a little bit more on that. So, all right, so that's for the Knight of Swords. Let me get a little bit more on this Devil. Okay. Thanks to myself. Now, let's start with the Knight of Swords. So the Knight of Swords is clarified by the King of Wands and the Queen of Cups here. Now, this Queen of Cups, she's giving me this energy of nurturing your needs, nurturing the things, again, that nurturing this inner truth, process what you know. Okay, like when you find yourself at a crossroads, okay, what are the facts? Get outside of yourself a little bit. Maybe there's I'm feeling a lot of subjectivity maybe going on here. Maybe this is something where we're needing to, okay, engage in like a soliloquy, for example, or maybe even doing like a writing this thing down, but the King of Wands here is giving me a need to move the energy, possibly to be a leader of where you're going next. I guess, like I said again, no one can help you. No one can force you to ascend or something along those lines. Or can force wisdom on you. The wisdom has to come from putting the knowledge into practice, is what I'm getting here with that. That's very interesting. The Devil is clarified by the Five of Pentacles and the Six of Cups. And so with the Six of Cups being here, this is the Sun in Scorpio. And so there's something we're feeling very strongly about. Maybe this is something like, again, I feel like there's something about looking. That's interesting. I just keep getting look to the past, and it's just like you're not. That's interesting. It's like you're not as helpless as you think. Scorpio again is very strong in Mars. Mars ruled, and I almost feel like this Five of Pentacles here is getting out of this state of stop telling yourself that you don't know something possibly, or that you don't have something here, because otherwise that'll continue to be so. That's not your truth. That doesn't have to be your truth. It's our truth if we let it be, is what I'm feeling. But almost that's interesting. The Six of Cups almost even give me to be mindful of the energies that you're sharing. How you're, what thing are you creating when you're listening to something? When something's evoking emotions, what does that create for you? Does it create this sense of anxiety? Does it create this sense of fear? And if is it doing it in a way that's helping you process it, or is it doing it in a way that's just stirring up a hornet nest? That's it. I feel like if it's something that's not constructive, it's moving away from that. Again, going towards the things that light you up. I'm picturing Orion. If I'm remembering correctly, I think he has a bow. I might be making that up. Double check that. But I feel like it's like, and we're getting ready to move into Sag here soon. So this is the time I feel to kind of find your mark right now. That's interesting. That's just another thing that's coming through. Okay. All right. I think I got what I got from that. But Justice card too. Keep in mind that's a card of cause and effect. And again, these don't feel like necessarily caveats. You know, they don't have to be. You know, it's just sort of like a, I know if I touch this stove, I'm gonna get burned. So I'm not gonna keep touching in this. You know, if I'm gonna touch a hot stove, thinking that something else is going to be different. You know, something is changing here. I like that. This is this active change, or this active encouragement for change here, with the tower and the devil being in reverse. But let's get a little bit more on this. Okay, thanks to myself. Okay. All right, so now we have the Ten of Pentacles and the Five of Wands in reverse. This is Mercury in Virgo, so Mercury retrograde in Virgo. Then you have the Star card upright here, which is Aquarius. Now, with Aquarius, the Star, I feel like there's this. This is a time I feel like to be. Look at this little kitten here. Look at how it's being nurtured, how it's being comforted. I feel like this is a need to kind of be around some healing energies right now, to bask in your light. The Star card here. Look how soft that's looking. You know, if it almost it's even giving off this bit of radiance here. It's not like a sunlight. You know, this is the brightness of a star. I feel evokes wonder. It brings hope. You know, for that there's more than what meets the eye. The Five of Wands here is just being careful. You know, five of getting, I feel, mixed up in other people's energies. One, to getting lost in distractions of things, because that'll take you off your course with the Ten of Pentacles. I feel like that'll get you feeling where you're not operating from a strong foundation, possibly being here. You know. Look at this cat just distracted, just going to and fro here. And that's where I feel like, you know, even when I'm seeing some of the videos that are coming out, some of the people that I enjoy watching, and just some of the stuff I've been hearing, it's like, I just think that there's so much potent manifestation energy that's coming into, it's always been there, but I think that the awareness of it is coming back again. And now, I feel like this is not how I personally like working with astrology is looking at like, oh, this isn't happening. It's like, okay, this is what's going on. How am I going to show up for this energy? Because sometimes things can just come and go. You know, sometimes a transit can come. You may just miss it. You know, like you may, if you're not, it's just kind of going in the mix. There's certain things that may just happen. You can pinpoint it to a transit. But I feel when you're setting the intention, things stop happening to you less, you know, because then you're expecting, like when I'm going through, like, for example, when I look at, like, when I went over, like, my lunar return, I had an idea with my moon being in the 8th house this month. There are probably going to be some emotional things that are going to come up. This may be a term, like a bit tumultuous. You know, 8th house is like, you got to call it what it is. But that doesn't, like, it gives me time to get prepped, you know, and to honor myself when I am feeling low. And to know that, okay, this is like when I'm feeling these things, let's look at the undercurrent of this thing. You know, what is this trying to transform? Who do I need to work with? How do I need to work with this? So, I think that's all I got there. I thought I had a little bit more of that, but let's get some advice from Mars. And you know what? Mars is exalted in Capricorn. That means Mars is strong here, even though we got the moon in Scorpio right now. And then, you know, granted, Mars is not in Capricorn. But there's something about the energy that's supporting that. Like, hey, this is going to be some work, but you're not alone in this. We're all going through this, and that we can have... Let me get the rest of this. Thanks to myself. All right, last little bit here. We're not alone in this. So you got the Three of Cups upright, and then you have the Lovers, Gemini energy, and then the Page of Wands in reverse. But Mars is in Gemini. Let's switch back over. Thanks, Spirit. Love that. So the Lovers. The Lovers, I feel that this is saying, like, it almost gives me, like, you feel like your choices are not yours. You know, like, this gives me this sense of yeah, kind of having lost a bit of authority a little bit. That our kundalini has been kind of tucked in. That's actually really interesting, and that's something too. Even when I'm thinking about Scorpio, again, I'm just seeing something about finding a way to get empowered, and I'm not just gonna keep just like doing that. It's like if you're listening to, I'm just like swaying back and forth, like just thinking about how a serpent moves. Like there's something here about pulling. There's like it's finding a power within yourself, finding a courage here, like knowing that you have more choices than you think, seeing another side of something here with Gemini, and or with the lovers, and I I feel the Three of Cups. I feel this Three of Cups as a being around those who support you in your truth, who are affirming the wisdom that you've attained. You know, paying attention to the things that you're speaking into your body every day. And that's even something you're like, you know what I mean? Like, because Mercury, the Three of Cups is Mercury in Cancer. And Cancer in the Thema Mundi is associated with the first house, the body, the personality, the speech, the temperament, which it makes a lot of sense with Cancer, like how the personality can shift, and change. And like one minute we're feeling here, and then another we're feeling here, and somewhere in the middle. But Mercury in I feel Mercury in Cancer is when you have things communicating to you that aren't your truth. When you're surrounded by people who are committed, you absorb that. And I feel like there's something about just paying attention to what you're absorbing, surrounding yourself with people who are motivating your energies, not bringing them down, not sapping things away. The Scorpio again. I feel there's a time to pushing some of the things that it's like we've accumulated some sort of waste here with that, and now it's like kind of stagnating the energy here with the Page of Wands being in reverse. And so yeah, doing things that make you feel empowered, things that know, in embracing your truth. When we're clarifying that Five of Pentacles energy, sometimes other people can feel feel something, but it's just like that doesn't have to be what you're feeling too. The two things can be true here, and that's something interesting too. I'm getting with the lovers. The two things can coexist here. The world can be black and it can be white. It's not so fixed. And I think that all this mutable energy is kind of showing that. That we're in a time where we're just needing to be more flexible, needing to be a bit more open to things right now. Need that mutability, seeing the other side of something here. So, all right, but I think I'm gonna leave that there. Something to ponder. But if you like that, if anything resonated with you, give it a thumbs up. And share this if you know someone who would benefit from this. Absolutely. And then subscribe there, you star. Hit that bell button to get notified on all these videos each day. And then, yeah, last few things there. If you're curious about what the other celestial bodies are doing, maybe you're curious about these transits that are getting ready to come up here, I'll be releasing this video. When am I going to be doing my next video? It'll come out this coming Mercury Day, Wednesday. What day is that? The 14th. That's when I'll be dropping the next video there. And I also do little videos too. I've been wanting to get back on track. I might actually do some either today or tomorrow here. Maybe tomorrow. But I also do where I talk about different planetary placements. I've actually was going through just all the planets, but I think I'm going to start with the traditional planets first because those relate more closely to us. And the outer planets, I'll just kind of do I'll just kind of do those. Those might be like once a month. We'll see. But those, I'm going to start doing those more regularly too. They're just like different planetary placement videos. And again, if you're wanting to get involved with my Lunar group, come join me at the Lunar Mansion. All the links for that stuff is down in the description box below. And again, if you have any questions, you can book a free consultation with me. And yeah, all that housekeeping is down in the description box below. But let me get your surprise cards. Oh, let me not knock things over. Now let me get your surprise cards here. Or surprise card here so I can get you out of here. All right. to myself. You got the buy the book card here. And that's very interesting because this is the 11th card. That's justice energy. And so with this, I'm getting a message of like you can do, see how these elephants are kind of following each other in a trail here? And kind of like, I'm getting a feeling of like, that's interesting, of like of you leading this pack here. You know, of not being in a place where you're being led, but where you're being the, where you're doing the leading. You know, the leading by your book. And then it's finding those people. And it's finding those people where it's like you're supporting, you know, we're both finding a space. And it's like, I mean, that's interesting, finding a space where it's like the people who are involved in your book, they all have a page in this thing, or they all have some sort of influence in this thing, but there's this truth that's happening here. Like there's not, there's, it's coming from a like a pure place here is what I'm getting here. Like, but I'm okay, but I'm also getting this thing about just being mindful about where you're being led, as far as, well, I guess for an example, I personally like working with whole sign. I would never tell, and I like working with the traditional planets. You know, that's just what I found has been working for me. That's been my truth, and that's what I like. And this is a very basic example, but you know, like that doesn't mean that I'm going to dismiss. Like Placidus has a place, and Coke House System has a place, and all, of course, the planets and the asteroids have a place too. But it's like you can still go. It's interesting. It's like there are the consequences here with this justice card, this cause and effect of when we choose to be led. Where are we being led to? You know, is someone leading us to water, or are we just kind of wandering aimlessly in a desert? And it's like, by whose book are we doing things? You know what I mean? Yeah, that's a very interesting one. I'm gonna leave that there. I think you always have a choice. That's the last message that I'm getting with this leverage. You always have a choice. You know, you can decide. You can get in. That's interesting. It's like you can start a book, and you're with it. You're with it. You're with it, and then you get to a certain point. I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'm not about that. You know, and it's like, can I skip over that, knowing what I know now, and keep going, or do I need to call it a day? Okay, so that's what I think, that last message I got for you there. So hopefully that was helpful for you. But until the next time, stay mindful out there. Keep raising that vibration through the roof. Keep eyes on the moon. Keep eyes on the sky. You know, just go out there and just go get out there and see the sky when you can. And I will catch you. Oh, when am I going to catch you? On the next one. Mars Day. Oh, how did I not know that all this Mars energy here?